Welcome to the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I'm Renée Lautermilch, Chief Editor at Smart Publishing, and this is the podcast where we explore all things writing, publishing, and the impact of storytelling. In each episode, I'll share insights and strategies to help you navigate the book journey, whether you're writing, publishing, or already an author. Plus, you'll hear from inspiring authors who are using their book to change lives. And if you're passionate about storytelling and ready to make an impact, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Now let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I'm your host, Renée Lautermilch, and I am also your chief editor at Smart Publishing. Today's a solo episode. Been doing a lot of those lately. I know I'm going to have a guest on here real soon. As I promised, Jonathan is going to be on here with me. We're actually trying to get it for next week, and that topic is going to be on launch marketing. So it's going to be all about what your launch marketing plan should incorporate, how to do it. It's going to be a whole guide on that. So it's definitely going to be a must catch episode. We're also going to do a little bit of backstory on who are we, how did Smart Publishing get founded, and all that fun stuff. It'll be a really fun one. Fingers crossed that we can get to that next week. It's a little crazy around here these days because it's like this 2-week gap period in between my daughter's summer program and when her regular school year starts again. Plus, we're potty training right now. So it's knock on wood, it's going very well. We're on day 3. I'm kind of like waiting for the ball to drop. So yeah, wish us luck with the rest of that journey. So today's episode, since I said it's a solo episode, it's all about a book's foreword. I've talked a little bit about the role of a foreword before in other episodes, but I've never had an episode that was more of a deep dive on what is the role of a foreword in a book, who should write a foreword, and how should a foreword be written. So I figured that it would be a good opportunity to dive into that. Also, some strategies around getting your foreword too, as we see a lot of what works and what doesn't work, and what some of the stumbling blocks are that are out there when you're trying to get a foreword written. So the first thing that I will say, and I've said this on another episode, is it's foreword. FOREWORD. It is not directionally forward, as in FORWARD. So don't spell it like the direction. It literally means before the word. And so take the second part of before, FORE, and then just attach it to word, WORD, forward. That's what the forward in a book is intended to be. It is intended to become before the main part of the book, and it's intended to be an outside perspective as well. So while you might think, well, isn't the introduction intended to come before the main content of the book? Yes, but the introduction is written by the author, and it is more about why the author wrote the book, how the book is structured, who the book is for, all those sorts of things. A foreword, it is more of like an endorsement. You can think of it as an endorsement and an introduction to the book from an outside perspective. So that's another big thing. You do not write your foreword. I've had a couple manuscripts come in where the author wrote their own foreword, and it's because they didn't fully understand what a foreword was. But a foreword is typically written by somebody other than the author. It's supposed to lend credibility. It's supposed to lend some influence your way. So usually a foreword is written by somebody who has some pretty good industry influence within whatever industry you're in. It should offer context. It should connect readers to the value of the book. It's somebody basically saying like, hey, this author, I know them, they're good, and hey, this book is going to be great for these reasons. Enjoy. So let's go through, before we go through, I actually have this document that I share with our authors here that they give to their forward writers called Guidelines for Writing a Forward. I'm going to go through those here in just a second. But before we get there, let's talk about how you go about getting a forward. So like I said, it's someone other than the author. If you can get somebody with a lot of credibility, that's great. I've got an example sitting here behind me where Dr. Carter Chack had his forward written by the president of the PGA, president of PGA of America. So that's like a huge name. So we put that forward credit right on the cover because it lends credibility to the book. So that's a great example of, swinging for the fences and getting somebody to sort of lend their credibility and their influence to both you and your book to create more authority and more credibility and ultimately sell more books. A forward doesn't have to be written by a big name as well. A forward can be something that is more personal, more heartfelt. So I have like a memoir back here. Reclaiming My Authentic Self by Victor Fernandez, where Victor's wife actually wrote the foreword for that book. And that book is a deeply, deeply personal book for Victor. A very tough book to write, a very good book. And his wife was there for the whole journey, with him. I mean, not the whole journey, like they didn't meet when they were kids or anything, but she was there for a lot of that journey to see him go from this really long career in sports journalism to just saying, I don't enjoy this anymore, and going out on a limb and getting started in a completely new industry later in life. And so she was able to lend this level of personal credibility and sentiment to the forward that no one else could. And it made a lot more sense for her to write it in that context than for Victor to go get some huge influencer who doesn't know him as well and was not there for the journey. So you can kind of see, yeah, is it great if you can get a forward by a really great influencer because that lends credibility? Yes. Does it always make sense? No, it doesn't always make sense. My husband wrote the foreword to my first book, and that was a professional book, but also deeply personal because my husband's been there for the entire, almost the entire journey of my. It's a book on leadership of my, my leadership development that I've been through. So again, someone other than yourself, but somebody who can lend credibility and context to the book within context to the book. Okay, so let's talk about going about getting a forward. Typically, people wait until they're done with their manuscript. I would encourage you, once you get like your introduction, even like the first two chapters of your book done, go ahead and start hunting down that forward. And the reason I tell you this is I have seen so many authors just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, even when we offer to just ghostwrite it. And then, hey, give us a few details. We'll ghostwrite it. We'll run it by you. You can make updates, changes. Still waiting and waiting. And here they are with a book release date or wanting to get, without a release date, but wanting to get a release date for it, ASAP. And we're just sitting around waiting on this person to write one and a half pages. And in some cases, that person never came through, and so we had to go with a plan B. And so for that reason, I would say it's almost never too soon to engage your forward writer so that that's not going to be something that's holding you up once you're done with everything that you need to do before we get to some of the final activities like the interior design of your book, which we can't do until we have the forward because that goes in your book. Um, Usually, a forward writer is going to want to like see a little bit of the book. And so that's why I say, hey, if you have your introduction or like your first two chapters even done, that's usually enough of a sample to give them so that they understand the topic of your book, where is it going? And that should give them enough. Very rarely do I see a forward writer who's like, I want to read the entire book first. I actually just had a new thing though. I had a forward writer who wanted to see the launch marketing plan before they read the forward. So I'm still trying to understand that, but these are things that can be provided to the person ahead of the book being completed. And again, I can't remember a time that a forward writer has wanted to read the entire book cover to cover before writing the forward. They really shouldn't need that. So let's go through some of the guidelines for writing a forward. So first, you want your forward writer to open with a personal connection. How do they know you? Remember, they're not lending credibility just to the book, they're lending credibility to you as the author. And so, they should explain how they know you, either, professionally or personally, very quickly tie in what is the connection. Share, why they were chosen to write the forward, or why they decided, yeah, I'm definitely going to write this person's forward. And then, mention what qualifies, you or them as the forward writer to speak on the subject or vouch for the author. And then I'll actually read you guys a little example here in just a second, so that we can start to have, all of these connection points come through for you. Share initial impressions or reactions. So they should, describe their first experience with your work or your manuscript. Highlight any kind of surprises, key takeaways, any kind of emotional impact it had. And then explain why the book matters. What problem does it solve? What gap does it fill? Or, what audience does it help? What makes it different? Why is it, so needed right now? If relevant, how does it stand out from other books in the same genre or field? Then, they can speak, to your credibility. So they can outline your expertise, your experience, reinforce your trustworthiness, insight, your unique perspective. Then, just set reader expectations. What type of content will they find in the book? Maybe an encouragement to read it with an open mind, or some kind of active intent to put what they're learning in the book to use, and maybe even tease like the overall benefit or the reader transformation. So readers will be excited, like, oh wow, this is what I'm going to walk away with. It should be concise. I've not seen really any forwards that have been beyond 2 pages. Usually it's 1 page to a page and a half. So it's professional or personal, just based on the context. Warm. um, you know Definitely keep any fluff out of there. They don't need to hit any kind of word count. So it should be very substance driven. And then, close with a call to action. So in that call to action is like a genuine call to read on, or even just a note of appreciation to the author, and then sign off. Then they put their name and any kind of relevant credentials they have. So maybe it's like I said, Don Ray Jr. Wrote Dr. Carter checks, and his is President, PGA of America. And so that was his signature. And so, what does this sound like? So I'm going to grab Healing in the Wild, and I'm going to read a little bit of this forward, so that you guys can just get an idea. And when you, if you're seeing on video, when you look at this forward, it's literally a page and a half, and that's in a 6x9 formatted book. So when this was on a Word file, it wasn't even a page and a half. It was like less than like 1 page in Microsoft Word. So it says, I first met Dr. Carter Check in Washington, D.C. on October 2022 when he became a PGA Hope ambassador. So there's the connection. And from that moment on, I knew we shared a passion for helping our veterans and first responders. There's the context as to why Don Ray Jr. wrote the foreword. Every day in DC, I rode in the back of the bus with a group of veterans, and that's where some of the best conversations happened. Conversations about life, struggles, and how we moved forward. It was on that bus that Carter told me about Hunt Therapy, his nonprofit focused on outdoor therapy. I went online, read about their mission, and I knew it was something worth supporting, so I donated right then and there. Again, reinforcing that connection, reinforcing the context as to why Don Ray Jr. was a really credible choice for writing the foreword here. Since then, we've worked together to spread the message that outdoor therapy, whether through golf, hunting, hiking, or time in nature, can be a life-saving tool. In 2023, we tag teamed a presentation to the next PGA Hope Ambassador class where we emphasized how the game of golf isn't just a pastime, it's a way to combat suicide and restore purpose. At PGA of America, we have a lot of creative ways to impact people's lives through the game of golf, but we only have one that saves lives: PGA Hope. I've seen it firsthand. When a veteran steps onto a golf course, something powerful happens. They reconnect with the game, with themselves, and with a community that understands them. The structure, camaraderie, and personal challenge that golf provides can be life saving, just like time in nature. Healing in the Wild, now he's getting to the book, right? Healing in the Wild captures the powerful connection between outdoor therapy and overcoming trauma. It's not just about recreation, it's about survival, resilience, and discovering a sense of mission. Whether it's lining up a putt or tracking a path through the woods, these moments in the wild can be the difference between despair and hope. I'm honored to support Dr. Carter Check and this book because I've witnessed the impact of outdoor therapy and I know it changes lives. Matter of fact, just like PGA Hope, I know it saves them. I hope this book encourages more veterans and first responders to step outside, engage with nature, and embrace the healing power of the outdoors. Don Ray Jr., President, PGA of America. And so that gives you like pretty much exactly everything that I just went through. It was concise, it was engaging. He set reader expectations, he spoke to the author's credibility, he explained why the book matters, and he shared initial impressions or reactions of the book. And he opened with a deeply personal connection that was extremely relevant to the book. So really, really great example there. And that's pretty much it for this episode. So just as sort of a summary of everything that we covered, we talked about how to spell forward. We talked about that first. We talked about what it's intended to be, who's intended to write it, and how that can either change from, somebody with a lot of credibility in your industry to somebody who is as deeply personal as your spouse. It just really depends on the context of your book. And then, we talked about some strategies for making sure that you get your forward on time and you're not sitting there like sweating bullets with a launch date out here and you still don't have your forward. So it's never too soon to start working the process of getting your forward from your forward writer. And then we talked about the guidelines for a forward, and I gave you a beautiful example from Healing in the Wild. Okay, that's it. I hope that it'll be me and Jonathan next week. You'll have to tune in to see. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Please take just 60 seconds to rate and review. It gets this show out in front of more authors and people who are thinking about writing a book. I try to keep this as educational as possible. I don't harbor any kind of information. I'm not one of these like fluff podcasters who's like, now go to this website for more and buy my stuff and buy. Yeah, do I want you to buy my book? Yes, I want you to buy my book. Do I want you to buy my courses? Yeah, I want you to buy my courses. But I hope you also see when you listen to this, I'm just giving you the information because ultimately I want more people to be successful with writing and publishing books. There are so many people who get stuck not even starting or get stuck halfway through the process because they don't have the information that I'm sharing here, which is how to successfully get through the process of writing a book, how to make it a lot less like climbing Mount Everest and more like just walking up a steady incline over time. And so that's ultimately, what I'm here to help folks do. If you want to connect with me, I am on Facebook, Renée Lautermilch. I'm the only Renée Lautermilch in the world. You can also search Smart Publishing and follow our page on there. You can also find me at any time on smartpublishingservices.com. You can connect with me there. We've got a lot of different resources that can help you on that website as well. And tell a friend about this show. If you know anybody who has ever wanted to write a book and just doesn't know where to start, this show is a great place for them to get started. So as I always say, Until next time, keep writing your story because the world needs your voice. Take care now.